If you were doing kettlebell swings and you're told there's not a squat in the swing, you have to hinge. I'm going to tell you that that's wrong. I'm going to show you in this video why. You see, the kettlebell swing is a hinge, but it's also a squat too. And I'm going to show you why that is in today's video. So the kettlebell swing in itself is a combination of the squat and the hinge. But the key point is, how do you do that correctly so that you combine both the hinge part, so you're not fully squatting, because it's not just a squat, and the hinge, so you're not fully in the squat, so you're not just hinging forward, because that's going to be too much load on your back. Because if you hinge too much on the swing, that load's going to go to your lower back. If you squat too much, it's not a swing. You're just basically doing a squat, and you're losing the power in your hips and glutes to do the actual swing. All right, so the kettlebell swing is both a hinge and a squat. It's a hinge, a hip hinge, and it's also a squat, which is bending the knees and the hips. All right, so the key is combining the two into one seamless movement. I'm going to show you how to do that and how to put those together. So you're going to have your bell, okay? You're going to sit up with that bell. So depending on the size of the bell, it's going to be either closer to you or lower to the ground. So you have to adjust a little bit based on that. But the key thing here is setting up correctly and setting up into your hinge and your squat before you get into the swing. All right. So how do you do that? So when you set up, you want to have about a foot space or two away from the bell. Okay. Bell's right here. The most important part here is, what do you do next? So you have to hinge into that movement. So there is a hinge, obviously, in the swing. All right, it's a hinge. It's a hinge hip power movement. But there's also a squat. I'm going to show you how to put that into the swing with the hinge. All right, so you set up, foot space away from the bell. Okay, and then what do you do next? You're going to hinge. All right, so you find your hip creases here, the creases on your hips. All right, I'll face this way so you can see me here. Find the creases in your hips. And you're gonna hinge. You're gonna press on your hip creases here, and you're gonna hinge. Hinge means hips go back, butt goes back, all right? Squat means everything drops down, okay? So putting the two together, depending on the size of the bell and the distance you have to travel, is gonna determine how much squat you need, okay? So when you set up the weight of the bell and you hinge forward, okay, you're hinging, you hinge, okay? As you can see, if I was just hinging, I would just be straight legged, right? Because that's a hinge, okay? And like I said earlier, if you just hinge and you're swinging it, and I've seen this so many times, I actually saw it the other day. This guy was doing swings and he was just straight leg hinging. Maybe because someone told him it's a hinge, it's not a squat. But what happened is, I know he was chasing that bell back, and that load is going to go to his lower back. He's probably feeling that. He probably felt that during the swing. He probably felt that later on. So I want you to avoid that, okay? So there is a hinge, but then you have to add the squat component in, and that is what I'm going to show you next. So once you hinge, okay, your squat will, like I said, be determined based on the side, the height of the bell or the size of the bell, because it'll be closer to or further away, okay? So bigger bell, higher up, smaller bell, you have to reach a little further down, right? So you hinge down. Okay, my bell's right here. My bell's here, okay? So if I just hinged, my hips back, I'm basically doing a straight leg deadlift as I reach the bell, okay? I'm not doing that. What you want to add is that little bit of squat component. This is where the squat comes in. You're squatting, so you're sinking into it, hips down a little bit, and that's a little bit of squat. Okay, so if I show you from the side, you hinge, and then you add a little squat as you tip the ball back. So as you can see, I'm hinged, but I'm also squatting a little bit, all right? There's a little bit of squat, meaning the knees are bending more. My knees are going forward, my hips are still back. The key part of this is you have to make sure your hips go back first. The hinge comes first, the squat comes after. And when you start to learn how to put those two together on your swing, you'll learn how to set those up correctly, and you can do it all at once. So when you do that all at once, what does it look like? You find your hinge, You know, as you can see, I'm hinging, but I'm also squatting down, so the bell's right here. I've done this so many times, I know how much I need to hinge, how much I need to squat when I set up for my kettlebell swing. So that's what I want you to be able to do is hinge right and squat just enough to get in that position. And the reason for that is, like I just said, if you're hinged too much and you're trying to, swing the bell back in too much of a hinge, one, the bell's gonna go below the knees. You want the bell coming up in this imaginary triangle between your hips and your groin, your pelvis here. You want the bell going in here. If you're hinged too much, you're gonna drag it. It's gonna be below the knees, and that's how it's gonna hurt your back. That's how so many people hurt their back when they're doing swings. I see it all the time. Like I just said, I saw that the other day. And want to avoid that by adding that swing component, when you the squat part, because when you do that, then you load the hips. So instead of just hinging forward, I'm squatting a little bit into it, okay? So I'm ready to go. So this is the hinge, this is adding that squat. So it's a little bit of movement to where you're loaded into that swing, and then I would just hike it back, and I'll be able to swing, okay? As you can see, when I come down with the swing, I'm absorbing the weight by squatting a little bit. If I just hinged, like I just mentioned, it would go to my lower back, and it would take the load, and I'd probably injure my lower back. So by adding the squat, you're able to load the hips and load the weight onto your hips and your core and your glutes by adding that little bit of squat into it, because then your quads fire, your hamstrings fire more, and your glutes are more activated because you're engaging, you're bending at the knee, because remember your quads and your hamstrings are also tie in at the knee joint, not just the hip joint. So to really activate them, you have to activate both joints by bending both joints. Bend the knee, bend the hip. Bend the hip on the hinge, bend the knee on the squat, okay? So putting that together, when you set up for the bell, to make it simple to wrap up and simplify this technique is, when you go up to that bell, you sit up that bell, think, hinge first, squat second, okay? So you hinge at the hip, find your hip creases here, hinge it, okay? And then wherever the bell is, if you did that foot space away, the bell will be in the perfect position. You reach for that bell, whatever distance you need, you're gonna squat into it slightly. And then you tip that bell back and you're ready to go into that swing position, or into that swing, okay? So if you have a mirror, you can give yourself some good feedback here. You look in the mirror, okay? Hinge, squat that a little bit more. I'm loaded, I'm ready to go. If I'm looking in the mirror, my knee should be below my hip. My hip should be below my shoulder here. I shouldn't be straight like a table. If you're like that, that means you're hinged too much, okay? So that's why you hinge, and as I come down, as you can see it, flat table here, loaded here, okay? That slight movement is all you need to do to start adding more squat into your swing with the hinge, so you have a powerful and safe kettlebell swing, all right? That's the video for today. Practice this, start adding more squat into your swing in addition to the hinge by first adding the hinge, squatting into it to reach that bell, making sure you're a foot space away from that bell, hinge, squat, you're ready to go, all right? If you like further instruction on the actual kettlebell swing, and I break that down step by step, check out my video here on the kettlebell swing. I break that down, the 2-arm kettlebell swing, how to do it from start to finish, how to incorporate the hinge and the squat into that exercise so that you can have strong, powerful, and safe swings that are set up and look like this. Always feeling strong, always doing it safely, so you can come back and do it consistently. That's the key. That's why I made this video. That's why I make the swing video and all my videos safe and effective kettlebell training, so you could be consistent, get stronger, get fitter, and do it injury-free, all right? And if you want a full body kettlebell workout that you could do with the swing, once you learn how to do the swing, pick up my free 10-minute full body kettlebell workout right here. All right, or my book that I just created, I just finished it out, I'm working on it. I'm just finishing that up. Really in depth on the kettlebell swing. If you want that, shoot me a message below with swing book. All right, swing book in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Keep getting after it, keep doing your swings. Safely, of course. Watch the next video on the 2-arm swing. It's right here. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Get after it, train strong, never let anything stop you. Comments below for coaching. If you need help, if you have questions, anything about the swing or this video, let me know below. I'm not today, get after it. You got this, train strong, and I'll see you in the next video.